Welcome, real people, real conversations. This is your host, Lori, speaking. Let's get this conversation started. Okay, so today we're going to start with current event topics once again this week. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I have Paul on the line. Hi, Paul. How are you today?
Hi, Lori. Thank you for taking my phone call.
I'm glad to have you. So where are you from again, Paul?
I was originally born in Brooklyn, New York. I had to leave New York State in 1995 due to the fact that the taxes had become insane, and I realized as a young man that I wasn't going to be able to make it in New York. So I left and I moved to Virginia Beach because the taxes were less, lower taxes. The opportunity was greater, and I'm happy to say that it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I've raised 4 kids. I'm raising 7 grandchildren, so it worked out perfectly for me.
Wow, that's great. So what year was it that you got out of New York?
1995.
You were one of the smart ones.
Well, the taxes are insane.
I know.
You know, they always talk about taxation without representation, and it's just amazing how our politicians on both sides of the aisle think that when they collect taxes, it's to do whatever they want with them, and they have no respect for the taxpayer that's actually paying taxes. It's mind-boggling.
Right, and that's why, I'm sure you paid attention when the president passed the tax law, and you have a lot of people that are saying, oh my goodness, you could only claim up to $10,000 in property taxes, and what people don't realize is most of the country do not pay that high in taxes. California does, New York does, and I think Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, how about this? You're absolutely right. I just did my taxes today, and I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not a rich man by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a middle-class person. But when you sit back and you have your governor of New York turn around and realize that he lost $2.3 billion in tax revenue because people are fleeing New York and moving to Texas and Florida, hello, newsflash, did you ever stop to think that maybe it's your taxation policies that are driving people away?
Right, nobody seems to see. Right, they just want to blame the president.
Amazon, right, you just lost Amazon because you want to have this socialist mentality, and it's that old expression, you cut your nose off to spite your face. It's amazing to me. It blows my mind.
25,000 jobs were lost.
Gone. And they're celebrating, and it's a celebration. It's insane. To give you an idea, I grew up, when I'm growing up, we won welfare. I'm not ashamed to say that. I went with my mother to get the block of cheese, the condensed milk, the powdered eggs. I was there with her when she had her welfare card. My father was incarcerated. But one of the things that my mother turned around and told me, as did my grandfather, was if you want something, you work for it and you get it, and you don't trust anybody. And guess what? At 18 years old in 1980, I registered to vote. I've been a voter for almost 40 years. I voted in every election. I have 4 kids that are grown adults. Guess what? They're all registered voters and they vote. Because my philosophy is if you don't vote, you have no right to run your mouth because you didn't participate. Now, if you participated and you vote and you lost, you may not like it, but guess what? It was the will of the people and you have to accept it. Trust me, there were a lot of presidents that won elections that wasn't my cup of tea, but once they won, I respected the will of the people and I moved forward.
Well, that's not what's happening today, that's for sure.
It's sad. It is sad commentary on politicians. It's a sad commentary on the media. It's sad commentary on political parties. I didn't vote for Obama twice. Okay? Now, what I loved is when people said, you didn't vote for him because he's African American. I said, no, I didn't vote for him because I saw his policies and I didn't agree with his policies. He believes in socialism. He believes in big government. He believes in taking my money and spending it as he will. Nah, I'm not about that. I'm about capitalism. I'm about I want to keep what I make. And if I make the decision and I make a mistake, that's on me. I accept that. I don't need anybody to tell me what I can and can't do like I'm a little kid and I have to get allowance. So I didn't vote for him.
Let me ask you a question, Paul. Do your kids understand the difference between socialism and capitalism?
Yes. Of my 4 kids, 2 of them are Republicans. One of them is an independent, and I would say one of them is kind of independent, but a little bit of a Democrat.
Okay. And who explains the difference to them? Do you sit down and explain that to them, what the difference is?
Yeah, we talk at the table all the time in regards to my political views. Sometimes they shake their head at me, but at least they listen to me when I explain what's going on. One of my kids kept arguing with me, and I turned around and I simply said, okay, do me this favor, go and educate yourself, and then come back and talk to me. And when they came back and their eyes were open, they were shocked. And now they're extremely independent, leaning more towards the right than the left.
Right. Because I had to explain to one of my youngest one of my son's friends was saying that I had asked them right out, do you believe that if a person is rich, that they should take their money and help other people? And she turned around and said to me, yes, I do. Why shouldn't the rich help? So I said, let me ask you a question. You're 2 parents that worked very, very hard for their own business for years, and you've seen that you didn't have parents home, and they were constantly gone because they were running this business. Now became a multi-million-dollar business. So you're okay if your parents sell the boat that they have because now they need to take some of that money to go and help other people? That would be okay with you? And she just looked at me. I said, because that's what socialism is.
Well, exactly. Look, the reality of it is this. You know, you can spin it however you want, but you know what's become a dirty word? Sacrifice. Nobody wants to sacrifice anymore.
Right.
There's a cause and effect to everything that we do. How is it that you could sit there and be okay with saying, well, you don't deserve that money? What do you mean I don't deserve the money? I worked my butt off for that money. Who are you to judge what I can and cannot keep? Well, it's not fair. Well, why isn't it fair?
Right.
Because you didn't want to turn around and work? That's not shame on me, my friend. That's shame on you.
And because, let's just say it the way it is. If that was the case, and you're a person that's very wealthy, and they say that that person has to help all the other people that aren't, you're not separating people and saying, okay, this person fell on hardships, or this person is handicapped, so you know what, we're going to help this person. No, all those kids that sat home and either they watched TV, sat on social media, played video games their whole life, and did nothing, they're in that same pot. There is no separation. It's just one pot, and all of this is in there. I'm sorry, I'm not okay with that. I would rather have the choice that if I am at that point in my life, if I choose to, and I can pick and choose, you know what, I do have extra money. I want to help this family that fell on hard times. That's one thing, but I don't want to be told that this is what my money's being taken and this is where it's going to. That's a big difference.
Well, sure, but also realize this. The top 1% of the people in America pay the most amount of taxes as it stands right now. But nobody wants to talk about that because all they want to say they're not collecting enough taxes.
Right.
Why? So that you can turn around and take my taxpaying money and spend it on foolishness because you have the ability to do that because we were stupid enough to elect you into a position of power? That's unbelievable.
Right.
That's insane. That is just straight up insane. I turn around and talk about this all the time. Okay? Here's a little history lesson. FDR instituted Social Security. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the mandate was this. This was the mandate. We don't feel that you're smart enough to keep money for when you get old. So we're going to take this money out and we're going to put it in an account for you. It's your money. And when you hit a certain age, we will start giving you that money because we saved it for you on your behalf.
Right.
Social Security is not an entitlement. Okay?
Right.
Social Security is our money that they take from our paychecks. Now, all of a sudden, they want to try to put entitlement. Well, that's an entitlement. No, sir, it's not an entitlement. I paid into the Social Security system since I'm 15 years old. Don't tell me that it's an entitlement.
Well, that's why I laughed a little bit. Right. When you made that
Yes.
statement, did you hear me laugh? Because this is a
Yes.
joke. Exactly what you said.
Yes.
You paid into
Yes.
it your whole life.
My whole life. It's my money. It's not your money. You didn't do me a favor. You took it from my paycheck. So please don't sit there and tell me that it's an entitlement, because it's a lie.
Right. Well, another thing that does scare me, speaking about like financials in this country, and I don't know which way we're heading. Like you'll say the top 2% or 1% pay the highest taxes. Are you worried? Because I tried to explain this too, and because I speak to my kids sometimes also what's happening. So you have your top 1 or 2%, you have your higher middle class, and you have lower class. So
Right.
what happens is, I said, picture this bubble. So you have the people up here that are making all this money, the people that are in here they're just making it, and the people that are down here are living off the system. And the system meaning we're all paying taxes into this system, because where is this extra money coming from to help them? That's okay, and I do believe sometimes people fall on hard times. But what scares me the most is the fact that we have so many illegals coming into this country that there'll be so much at the bottom that eventually the bottom's going to fall out. Because how could you keep telling these people, come in, and you got to realize there's no balance now. Now there's more people at the bottom. We already, it's actually not even balanced. But picture now we're taking thousands and thousands of people, probably millions, because I don't believe anything they say to us. And it's not even, do you ever worry about that the bottom's just going to drop out?
Well, here's the worst part about it, and you're kind of close to 100% right. Do you realize that we don't take care of our homeless veterans, that we sent them out to war, and they came back broken? We have no facilities to help them out, to get them back on their feet. We will look at them and let them lay and languish in the street and give them nothing.
I know.
We have homeless families that are out there in the street right now that are begging for food. We give them nothing.
Right.
However, if you happen to come across the border and you happen to make it in, you will get guaranteed a house or a place to live. You will be guaranteed food. You will be guaranteed money that you'll get in your pocket, and you don't have to do nothing. And this free money is our taxpayer money.
Yes.
We turn around and we sit and we look. Look, you can say whatever you want about Obama, and there's a lot of things I can say. This man turned around in 8 years and it $14 trillion to our debt. He did the most amount of debt ever by all presidents combined. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, so you turned around and you spent $14 trillion. What do you have to show for it? And what did he have to show for it? Absolutely
nothing.
Nothing. Now, here's where we are kind of lucky, but if things change, we would be no worse than a third world country. The American dollar is the currency of choice throughout the world. Now, the euro dollar wanted to replace the American dollar. Chinese yuan wants to replace the American dollar, but nobody will do anything except use the American dollar. So the luxury that we have is the ability to just continue to print more money. We have a president that's just come in. He's been here for 2 years, okay? And turned around right now, we have the lowest unemployment rate in about a decade. We have more manufacturing jobs that have come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have turned around. The stock market is booming. Everything, he's making new trade deals where we were taken advantage of for years from other countries because they looked at America like what we are, stupid, as far as our politicians. So he's renegotiated everything that he said that he was going to do. And the last piece of the puzzle was to turn around and secure our border so that we, the taxpayer, are not putting the bill for these illegal immigrants coming in and living off of the system.
Do you
And
know
yet,
what
what
it
is
costs
it
for
for?
one of them? Do you know what one
I believe
illegal?
70,000, I believe. An American family, it costs the American family in taxes about 70,000, if I remember correctly. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
See, so that's what scares me. I
That makes
feel
sense what I'm saying, or do I sound like a crazy person?
no. I know the number was high. I don't know the exact number, but that's what scares me is Number one, what you just said, how we have homeless here in our own country.
Yeah.
But we won't talk about
Yeah.
them. But let's not have a conversation about them. Let's
No.
just keep talking about not even immigrants coming to migrate here. We're talking about
Yeah.
illegal immigrants
Yeah, yeah.
and keep giving
Yeah,
them.
but it's a manufactured crisis.
Mm-hmm.
It's a manufactured crisis. Yes, but it blows my mind.
Do you talk to other people? Do you think that people are starting to wake up and recognize what's happening here in our own country, or you still feel that people just don't see it?
No, here's what I would turn around and I would say to you, okay? When everything played out under the Obama administration, okay, here's the truth, the Obama administration. When they got away with what they did with Benghazi, when they got away with what the IRS did to the conservative groups, when they got away with getting people to resign because they called them racist, and you had nobody in the Republican field that was willing to stand up and say, no, this ain't happening. It was disheartening to be a Republican. It was
Right.
disheartening to be a taxpayer. It was disheartening to be a moderate Democrat and an independent. Because I will say this, when the 2016 elections came around, they were, I believe it started out with 15 or 16 candidates,
Mm-hmm.
and they were very well-qualified candidates. And I had my top 5 list, and I will tell you this, Trump wasn't even in my top 5. I'll be honest, he wasn't in my top 5. But you know what? Every time he spoke, and every time he expressed his view, he made more and more sense. And every time he defended himself, he made more and more sense. And as the candidates were dropping and I started listening to his message, and I understood, you know what, here's a guy who understands what people are talking about, their level of frustration around the kitchen table. And yeah, it's true. There's 35% of Trump supporters. They're going to back him until the end of time. You only need 51% to win an election. What has the Democrats, you notice they never talk about his accomplishments. They just talk about him personally because they can't talk about his accomplishments because he's accomplished so much in 2 years. He has done more in 2 years than most presidents did in a presidency, whether 4 years or 8 years. But they won't talk about that. But the funny part about it is this. Democrats realize that they're starting to lose the African and Hispanic vote. Because guess what? Trump said it. What do you have to lose? Give me a shot. If I don't do my job, then don't be behind me. And as each day goes by, more and more people's eyes are opening up. So what are they going to do? How are they going to replace that vote? I got a great idea. Let's let illegals vote. Because we can turn around and say that we're on their side and we're looking out for them. Isn't it funny how that's playing out, though?
I know, but it's also scary, too. That scares me.
Well, what it should tell anybody that's out there is that for the Democrats, it's more about power than what's right for the country. And that's the scary part. I sit back and I shake in my boots. This guy McCabe turned around and went on 60 Minutes interview. Think about this. I want you to ponder this. He went out on 60 Minutes, told 60 Minutes that he was part of a group that were trying to turn around and void out the election because they hated the man and they didn't like the outcome. So what they were saying in essence is the people who voted for Trump are idiots and he's got to go. Went on 60 Minutes and talked about it, and yet the crazy part about it is there's no uproar. This is insane, this is treason, this is not a peep. That's what's scary.
Wow.
That scares me beyond anything else because what it tells me, which I've always suspected when it comes to the Democrats, by any means necessary to gain power. They want to turn around and call our president a tyrant, and yet what they tried to do was tyranny. And that's the scariest part about it. And so far, nothing has happened. It's like either everybody's frozen in fear, or, I don't know, my prayers is that these people are held accountable. And there's a bunch of them that need to be held accountable.
I know. And I don't even think, as far as being an American, let's forget about if you're Democrat, Republican. This whole situation with all of these illegals coming in, and you obviously can see now, they're making decisions because they just want to keep themselves in power. They're not looking at the ramifications of us having to pay. I don't think there will be any middle class. That's basically what's going to happen. I'm wondering, I think to myself, if I was African American, and that's all the Democrats ever said that they were for, they're for African American, they want to help them, which they never did. I really hope that they're opening their eyes and seeing it's like they left them behind. Do you notice that? They left them behind. It's every conversation that comes out of anybody that's running, all the politicians that are a Democrat, all they talk about is illegals, the border, the illegals, and how they don't want to secure the border, which just makes no sense to me. They say they want to, but walls don't work. It's immoral. When did all this happen when you can pull up from years ago? Even Democrats said we need to secure the border. I'll tell you what it did to me with this whole situation with the border. It opened my eyes, Paul, because I realized just how many years this has been going on and not one president ever did anything about it. So this isn't something new. This isn't something new.
Well, here's what happened. You know that in I think it was 1988, when Ronald Reagan was still president, when he made the last immigration deal, he gave, I think it was 2 million illegal aliens. He gave them, he made them citizens, that they wouldn't go after them, for the sake of finally securing the border, making everything right. And they made a deal with the Democrats that, yeah, we're going to do this. And it was nothing but a lie. They had never had any intentions of doing immigration control. Because think about this. They could have, when Obama was first elected, because he had the House and the Senate, and whenever you hear Obama talk, he says the biggest regret that he ever had that in his first term, he didn't turn around and address immigration. What does that tell you? That should tell you everything you need to know of what the real play is.
Right. So do you feel that people just see, because I say that people don't react to this and they have their head in the sand because it's not affecting them. Then I feel like people are going to wake up when it's too late. And Paul, this really does scare me. Like, I'm speaking not as a Republican or a Democrat, just as an American citizen, and what's going to happen for the future for my children, that we're actually, I feel as if they're putting illegals before us. And it's happening more and more every day.
They are putting illegals before us. They are putting illegals before taxpayers and before voters. And that's why it's so important for the voter to be educated.
Right.
Look, I get it. They don't want to lose they lost their power and they want it back. I get that. But at some point, you have to turn around and say, what's best for America? Not what's best for my party. What's best for America? And that's one of the things that I really respect about our president, is that they can say whatever they want, but the fact of the matter is he puts America first. You know, I know of Trump when I lived in New York, and I know he's a narcissist. Yes, he is. He's an egomaniac. Yes, he is. Totally agree. I won't fight that point. He is. But you know what else he is? He's a man who loves his country. And he's a man who loves the middle class, because without the middle class, think about it. What other country in the world is America?
Right.
None.
Right.
People want to come here. There was an old saying, the land of milk and honey. Okay? The streets are paved in gold. I worked with a guy, his name was Reinhardt, all right, German. He came to America and he said, when I was coming to America, they told me that the streets were paved in gold, because that's what we believed in Europe. And I come to New York, I come in, and there's no streets that are paved in gold, and I'm like, they lied. There's no streets paved in gold. And then he said, I realized, no, the street is still paved in gold. You just have to know how to pick it up. And what does that really mean? Well, what that really means is this. America is the only country in the world that has nothing to do with class, has nothing to do with birthright, and you can become whatever you want. And you should be applauded for it. Barack Obama became president and he came from nothing, right? Right? He was a nobody and he became president of the United States. That's what makes the United States as special as it is. And yet now that's a dirty word. How dare you? White privilege. How dare you?
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
It's insane.
That's what, that everything is changing. I know that the world changes. They say that's what happens, but I just think that this identity politics of what's happening today, you would think just the fact that Barack Obama became president, what do you think, that just African Americans voted for him? Of course white people, Americans voted for him. They felt that he was going to bring change and thought that he was...
And he did bring change. He did. He brought a lot of change. Changed in your pocket. He did.
But he never empowered. I feel that after him being president, he never empowered African Americans. That's just how I feel.
No, he never did.
Because I have to be honest, seeing that Trump is president, and I'm looking at his age, what this man has done. He's never been in politics. Yes, he's a billionaire. And he had to, I don't even care if they say, well, his father gave him $1 million. I don't care. There are movie stars, musicians that their children are born with a silver spoon and they do nothing. So he could have done nothing. And he made the money that he made. So I look at him and I admire that. I look at his age. I see this man, what he's doing. I admire that. To me, it tells me never give up on your dreams.
No, I agree with that.
And how nobody walked away with that with President Obama. I don't understand how he didn't empower young minds, coming up, like saying, wow. So we don't have to feel this way. Like if someone feels like they're not educated or something, or they didn't come from money. Look, I still could become president. I don't have to worry about the color of my skin. And he didn't, he never put that out there. I don't understand that.
Well, the reason why he didn't put that out there, if you want to know the truth, is because he was a globalist. And a globalist believes in one society. They don't believe in borders. They don't believe in sovereignty. They don't believe in country. It's one country. So if you remember, and this will hurt a lot of people's feelings out there, when Obama was first president, what did he do? He did the apology tour.
Right. I remember that.
He apologized for America being so great.
And where did that get us?
The same man who turned around and said America was never that great. Same guy.
I know.
But that's the stuff that he did.
Right. I didn't like that, but I didn't go around protesting with hate and everything else. I didn't like that. I remember...
Listen, a lot of people on the right saw what Obama did, knew what Obama wasn't about. They were not happy about it, but did they turn around and riot? Did they turn around and make a scene? Did they turn around and try to do everything in their power to destroy the man? No. They just waited until the election came around and see what they could do.
Right.
That's the difference between the left and the right. In the right, we can have disagreements. We can have civil disagreements, and then we move on. In the left, it's all or nothing. Either you agree with what I say, or you're part of the problem, you're not part of the solution. And that's dangerous.
That's great that you just said that. That's exactly how it works.
Yes, I know.
And the prime example, just this one that just happened recently with Jussie Smollett. I'm sure you saw how much media attention that hate crime got, which was false. What about that young kid that's a conservative that was in a college and being yanked around, punched right in the face? Nobody even knows that even happened. If you didn't catch it on Fox News, or you're not getting your news from sometimes I'll be on Twitter and I follow a lot of news apps. I happen to see it. Fox News put it on there. And
right.
I'm saying Channel 12 doesn't have it. It's right here in Connecticut. Channel 12 is not showing it. No channel even discuss it.
Well, it's like this. You know that to complement what you just said, the Senate just did their own Russia collusion, right? And they just ended. And they had to come out and say they found no Russian collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians. Okay? Do you know nobody reported it?
I didn't even know that.
Reported it. But nobody else. The Senate committee that had their own special investigation on Trump had to come out and say there was no proof that there was Russian collusion before the Mueller report, and nothing is said. Now, having said that, now the conversation is because they realize that Mueller's report's going to come out and say say there was no Russian collusion. So what is the new story now? Oh, Cohen's going to give all the dirt that Donald Trump, a guy who's a known liar, lied. He's going to jail for lying to Congress. All of a sudden now he's got all the street cred in the world, this guy. And he's going to give all the details of all the illegal stuff that Trump did in the White House. Where, if I'm not mistaken, he was Trump's personal lawyer. He had nothing to do with his on the politics side.
Right.
But yet that's what they're running with, because they realize that, you know what, we have nothing on Russian collusion. There's no Russian collusion. So we have to change the narrative. And that's the saddest commentary that you can say about the media. The media is bought and paid for, and they are the propaganda, no different than during the Vietnam War, Hanoi Jane, no different than telling what you want to hear, because they're taking their marching orders and their talking points from the Democrats. And they think that the silent majority don't see what's going on. It boggles the mind, the level of stupidity.
Well, I'm so glad to even like that we're having this conversation. You definitely pointed out a lot of good points. Because I do wonder, a lot of times, that was the whole reason why I decided to do this, because I wonder what are people saying at home. Because sometimes I'm sure you do the same thing. You're watching the news and they're feeding us this garbage. And I'm thinking, are people at home really believing this?
If people at home decided to look up history themselves, and they would see really who are the true racists. I mean, I found it amazing. Think about this. Now again, I'm not being a wise guy, but I'm just going to put this out there. So the president has the State of the Union address, right?
Right.
And all the first-time women that came into the House, they all came in dressed in white. Did you notice that?
Yes.
And they refused to clap. All of them, including the Speaker of the House. But isn't it funny that the last time that they all wore white, they also wore hoods, and they were known as the KKK, and they were the enforcer part of the Democratic Party. But they don't like to talk about that. They want to say the Republicans were the KKK. Don't you find that strange? Because I find that strange. But they don't talk about that.
Right. Well, what did Alexandria Cortez say? It's not the facts. We can't always go by the
don't
facts.
Don't let the facts get away of a good story. Yes. With her green deal. I have a nickname for her. I call her Fredo from Godfather 2. You know the scene where he goes, Mikey, there was something in it for me. I'm your older brother and I got passed over. I'm not stupid, not like they say. I'm smart and I want to be respected. That is her. That is, I call her Fredo. I say it all the time on stage. You like that, huh?
I like that a lot.
So never forget that now. I gave you that one.
That was good. And so will a lot of people that listens to this. They won't forget that too. Yeah. Well, this was good. I'm glad that we had this conversation. I would love to have you on again, because there are so many different other topics that we could even cover. And I liked your input on even just Trump himself. Like, that's good to know, because I'm sure there's a lot of other people that he wasn't even in their top 5, and how you kept listening to him.
Sure.
And realize he's making good points.
Resonated.
Right.
I tell this story all the time. I was watching Fox News. I'll finish with this last story. I was watching Fox News one night, and Sean Hannity, everybody knows he's a big Trump supporter. But he had Geraldo Rivera, who's a liberal, and he had Eric Bolin before he left Fox News on his station. And this was during when they were still 15 and trying to become president, trying to win the nomination.
Mm-hmm.
And Geraldo made a very interesting point. He said, look, I'm friends with Donald Trump. I've known Donald Trump for many years. But I have to tell you, his message is resonating. He's getting the blue dog Democrats sitting around the kitchen table, the union workers, the construction workers, the iron workers. They're sitting down and they're understanding his message. And I'm a liberal and you're a conservative, and we both agree with Trump. You know, if they all get together, he could win the presidency. And Geraldo was 100% right. My stepfather is 35 years, Union, New York, concrete. And he was a bigger Trump supporter than I was, and he voted Democrat his whole life. And it was right. I realized that his message is resonating. And guess what? He's been in office for 2 years. Everything that he said he was going to do, he has done so far.
Right?
He's nominated 2 conservative Supreme Court justices. He did that.
Yes. That was
he turned
big.
Around, he made a new trade deal with Mexico and Canada. He did that.
Right
Now, as we speak, he's negotiating a trade deal with China.
Right. That's
Turned
big.
around and got NATO, and the NATO, everybody that's in NATO, to turn around and start paying their fair share, their percentages that they're supposed to pay.
Right.
No other president did that before. Right now, he's in Vietnam talking to Chairman Young, whatever, Kim.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un.
That he's done it. No president has ever done that. He's got remains back. Korean veterans, their bodies, their remains were in North Korea. That he got a bunch of them back. He got people free. And yet, nobody will give him the credit for that.
Right.
We have the lowest unemployment right now. We have the biggest boom. You know that Europe is going in a recession right now, and America is the only country that's booming right now as far as from an economy standpoint? And nobody says a word. Don't you find that strange?
I definitely do. See, I'm learning a few things here in this conversation with you. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. He predicted the Brexit vote. They laughed at him. And he was 100% right. Oh, yeah.
He also,
He's not a fan of-
do you remember when he was running and they were having the debates? Do you remember that he pointed out that the Democrats were for abortions, even if you're in your
Yes.
last trimester?
Yes.
And everyone
Yes.
said, "Oh, how could he say that? That's not true."
Yes.
And look what we have today.
Yes. And just like, to follow that up with the second part of it, remember when he said that they were spying at Trump Tower, wiretapping his phones, and they told him that he was crazy, and then it came out to be exactly that. They were wiretapping his phones at Trump Tower.
That's right.
But
See,
nobody says nothing about that.
right, and that's not even spoken about at all.
No, that's not talked about. None of that is talked about. None of it. You know why none of it is talked about it? Because if they have to turn around and tell the truth, what would that say about the media?
Right. So they can't. So they just keep covering it up.
Yes.
They probably figured if they don't talk about it, it didn't happen. It's not true. And everybody will forget about it.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
again, that was the reason why I started this. For real people to just have real conversations and just to get our voices out there. That's all. That's all this is
Yeah.
about. And you're not
Yeah.
sitting here putting a comment on Facebook and having a whole big fight. If somebody ever wants to come on and maybe challenge you with a couple of points, that's fine. It's just a conversation and we don't have to take it to the next level. That's not what this is about. We could agree to disagree and that's okay.
That's okay. I totally agree with that.
Okay. Well, I thank
can
you.
support that.
Good. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time and having the conversation with me. And I have this feeling that you will definitely be back on again. Just reach out to
Well, I
me,
hope-
whatever topic you would like to talk about, and we can do this again.
I hope that I wasn't bad. I hope that I did all right.
I think you did just fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay, so that concluded another conversation. My guest was Paul from Virginia Beach. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.